Oh gosh, gunshine now. This is when you really do want to edit things, don't you?
Yes.
So anyway, a warm welcome. This is live, organic, and we were just talking about editing things, but that's something I'm going to have to work on. But thank you, and for joining me today. I've also got in my kitchen my beautiful friend Nicola, and we're going to talk about mediumship, aren't we?
Yeah.
Did you notice I put the microphone?
I know you have. Yeah.
Right. So as I'm doing the interview with you, we're trying to hide the Hoover, but we can't. So I don't know if the lighting's going to be brilliant, but the sound should be good because that's what we're listening to. But anyway, Nicola, do you prefer to call Nicola or Nikki?
I don't mind at all. It's lovely to be here either way.
Oh,
it doesn't matter. But I was always told to be called by your name that you were given at birth, because your birth name you can actually turn into sounds, and that can create a lovely melody for you to kind of listen to vibrate to. So that's why I didn't shorten it when I found out that, and that's to do with numerology as well, and how it goes, how the numbers relate to notes as well. So you can play your name.
So really, I should be known as Jenifer then?
Correct, yeah.
That's really weird, because when I went to Ragdale and they said, what do you want on your name badge? I said Jenifer.
Yeah.
And I miss that. So I should really be known as Jenifer, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Or see how you feel. You can do your J, I think, is 1, isn't it? Which relates to the colour red, but relates to note C, I think. Not an expert on that. But then you can play it as a kind of like, play it over on a loop and play it like as a mantra. But the Jenifer is you project into the universe. So yeah, it's whether I'm working, it's always known as Nicola.
Yeah, and that was really weird, because I vary from calling you Nicola and Nikki, but then I want to introduce you as Nicola, didn't I?
And essentially, I don't mind anything, but yeah, working wise, Nicola.
Oh, thank you. I've learned something new today.
That's all right.
Right, going to be Jenifer. Yeah, I like
or
that.
Jenifer when you project into the universe.
Yeah, and then friends can just still call me Jen or Jen.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, because like in numerology terms, the name we chose is got the vibration of what we've brought into this realm. So you chose Nicola and I chose Jenifer, didn't we? That's what we chose.
Yeah.
Before being born. So yeah. So the reason why I've asked you to come along today and do a YouTube chat, because I've known you for so long, and our paths met at the Quaker Church in Oakham, and you were the one that taught me how to be psychic.
Oh, good.
Yeah, all that I learned from reading cards came from you. And I would also describe myself as the cheeky little one in the background, like giggling with Alison. But your patience and the way you taught, or you still teach, is just amazing. And though my path never went along the medium side, which I want to return to, it's really calling me. I don't know where that bit of the conversation was going. So let's start by you, because people are tuning in because they want to hear about you. Tell me a little bit, when did you feel like this is my calling?
I don't know when I felt this is my calling, but I do know my first instance of spirit was when I was 8 or 9. And I remember lying in bed, drifting, trying to go to sleep. I'd been told to go to bed, but I wasn't. And a little Chinese kind of figure was in my mind, coming in and out of focus. And I thought, well, this is a bit weird. It was kind of like, it was just almost like, you know, when you go to the opticians and you're given the glasses on and they tune it in and tune it out. And it was just like that. And I thought, well, this is a bit weird. My mum and dad are not into spirituality or anything mediumistic or anything at that time. So I couldn't sort of talk to my mum about it, what was going on. And it was so subtle. I thought, well, is it just a dream? Is it just me dreaming? Now, later on, I understand that was probably my first instance of connecting to spirit and doing it quite naturally, being tuned in almost by spirit world. And so that's my first instance. And then later on, I think at 16, I had other instance where I was working in a newsagent's in Market Harborough, and there was known to be a ghost there, apparently. And there was rumours that a young man had unfortunately taken his life there. So there was all this kind of circulating in the background. And I was looking up one night, and we were putting the papers away, and I felt somebody stood behind me. I turned around, nobody was there. So I carried on doing what I was doing, but I could feel a presence. And I knew it wasn't going to do me any harm, because it didn't feel harmful in any way. It just felt like it was being nosy and being observant as to what I was doing. I was just right time at the papers, and that was it. So that was, and then we locked up that day, and as we were looking up, we could hear footsteps across the room above us. And the lady I was looking up with said, "Quick, we'll go now, shall we?" And we were hearing these footsteps as crystal clear as day. So the whole story around that was that this young man had there somebody had seen him in a kind of like a Victorian uniform clothing, and there'd been a lot of instances about somebody thieving in the shop, and he'd been trying to get the boss's attention. So I think he was making sure that I wasn't nicking stuff or stealing stuff. And anyway, he found out, he obviously realized I wasn't doing anything wrong. So it was really kind of quite good to me. Not that it was bad anyway to anybody else, but it was just kind of like interesting. And I told the boss, I said, "I'm sure somebody was watching me." He said, "Well, was he a kind person?" I said, "Yes, he was. He just wanted to be nosy." And so that's kind of was another incident when I was 16. So there were a few instances before I came fully into it. So just as I turned 23, I got married, and I was very settled in my life. I was nursing at that point, and I'd been nursing for a good year. I felt the urge to go and see a medium and to go to the Spiritualist Church in Kettering. And it was just like, just every it's like, you got to go. It just felt like it was I suppose, an itch that needed to be scratched, or it was just like an urgency. So I went to see a medium. It says, "Oh, you're going to be a medium." I thought, well, I don't know what one of those is. So I had to read up about it, and my first book was Betty Shine, who's at that point, this is a long time ago now, Betty Shine was very known at that point, and her book was very much about being a medium, and she sounded really normal. And I thought, well, this doesn't sound quite like what it's portrayed in the media, which is often if you watch a film, it's all super scary. There's lots of shuddering going on. There's lots of weird stuff being projected. She was just talking about it normally, and essentially she was a healer and just would see or sense spirits coming into the room. So I went to see a medium. She said, "Oh, you can be medium." And so I did a bit of research, and I thought I must go to the Spiritualist Church. And I went to the Spiritualist Church. It was a really pleasant atmosphere, a really nice service. And I thought, this seems really nice, and just was kind of working things out, I guess. Part of, if you go to a Spiritualist church, you generally go into divine service, and you're watching a medium give a bit of a sermon, so to speak, and then the evidence afterwards. And I thought, this is quite good. This is really comfortable. So I went back next week, went back whenever I could. And I think on the 5th time I went back, then I got a message, and it was from my great granddad, who I didn't know essentially at all. I think when I was 1, he died, he'd gone spirit world, but there was so lots of information about him, which I had to ask my dad about, and was very relevant and was very evidential to who was helping me. So I thought, well, there's something in this. And probably my second question was, well, why he's coming? He doesn't know me. And then part of the answers that I started to get was, well, he has known you from birth. He wants, because he's my ancestor, he wants to help me and guide me in a way. And he's quite a bossy character. And I think, as I was quite gentle at that particular point, was helping me to find myself, I suppose, come into my energy a bit. And so it was an important reason why he had chosen to be coming through and giving messages. But I'm digressing a little bit. But so the message was very pertinent. And then the week after, I think my granny came, and then it was kind of, then I kept having to ask my parents, mum and dad, and they kept having to do all these answering, giving me all sorts of family history and who was who kind of thing. So it started to, I was asking a lot of questions, and they started to also because they hadn't been into it, they couldn't support me at that point because they weren't going to the church. They're wondering what it's all about. Is it a cult? What is it? Is it a religion? Is it not a religion? But all I could say was I feel really comfortable there. It feels full of love and light. And the sermons were really amazing. And I felt really comfortable because that's all I could explain to them at that particular point. Then the more I came into it, probably about a year into it. So I think by a year into it, I was just itching to kind of like, oh my goodness, I wanted to kind of do it. And but I by that point, I think I'd watched getting on for 50 to 100 mediums. So you kind of get to a point where you kind of know what mediumship's about, to have different mediums start to work. And luckily there was a circle being run in the church at that particular point. And also because it hadn't come about very quickly, that I'd got some other friends which wanted to develop. So I went along. So I went to their circle. Then I went to the churchy circle. I went to my friend's circle, and I went to what's called a platform development circle. So I was doing 3 circles a week.
Wow.
To develop for 2 years. And then on my nights off, I was still developing. So I was still working. I was still sat there with my coloured felts, trying to work out what the colour or the felt was with my eyes closed. It's one of the first exercises my guides told me to do. And then other times I was kind of pretending that the audience was in my room, and then also obviously I was working with my husband, my then husband, and telling he's got to have all these readings. So it was almost as if you kind of go to excuse me, it got a tickle. It's almost like it kind of went to it. And so for 3 years was like that. So you can imagine like a degree course, you're almost taking a extended study course, but it was all encompassing. So yes, it was just every bit of me was wanting to develop. And I couldn't stop it. I was on this, I suppose, on this role, learning everything I could, absorbing everything from anywhere, reading. I never couldn't really read that. Hadn't really read many books until I came to spiritualism, and then it was like book after book after book after book, and that was kind of like every night for 2-3 years.
Wow. I didn't know all of this.
Oh no, wait, I was just, I suppose I'd call it my awakening.
Wow.
I don't know what else you'd call it, but it was just I was just so driven at that point to be a medium, and to be one that was able to work in a way that I wanted to. I think some of your fears would be, well, people think you're a lunatic, or people think you're seeing things. People think that that you're talking to the devil, when it is none of those things. It's very much about healing people and providing an evidential proof of existence for people, and learning it the right way, that you are using evidence and the skills in the right way. And I was also fortunate to go to the Arthur Findlay College quite a few times. And so that 3 years, so probably about 23 to 27, I was developing. And just as I kind of was getting on the platform, going out with a lovely medium called Maureen Mernon, what happened? Well, I chose to become pregnant. And that kind of sent me off on a different tangent for a while. So I couldn't work in a way that I wanted to, because I wanted to be a mum and the best mum I could be. So I kind of stopped a lot of the work, and I kind of retracked a little bit until my daughters were then. I'd had a second daughter. And then when Jasmine was 2, 3, 4, I decided, right, that's it, I'm going to do it. And then from then on, my career as a medium has just been like ongoing into different things, different scenarios, readings, church services, platform demonstrations, and teaching, which is one of my passions.
You are a really amazing teacher. And I think what I love about you is like, what I recognize in you is something that I'm passionate about, using this gift to empower people. And because with losing my mum and dad at such an early age, it was only really mediums that brought me such comfort and understanding. And then I was able to get on with life, because sometimes we do need something. And that's what I feel where mediums really stand their ground so well. I always remember a counsellor lady came to Ragda, and she said, like, you can do so much counseling, but sometimes she then passes them on to the medium because they just need to know that their loved ones are in the spirit world and they're fine and they're watching over you. And yeah. So, and I always remember going to see one medium. She'd moved away, and she was a down-to-earth lady like you. And she says, "I've got your mum next to me," and it was because of her I ended up going to work at Ragdale, because I'd filled in this application form and I thought, oh no, I'm 30, something like that. They're not going to want me. And this medium said, you need to go back and fill that form in and send it off. The job's yours. So a medium was the answer, the reason why I went to Ragdale and got my job. That's really interesting. Going back to your development, the 3 years that you were developing. So was that from what the circle was saying to you to do, or a combination of your spirit guides coming in? What you were dedicated.
Oh, I'm just obsessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps, I mean, I had got a life outside. I was doing okay. My nursing was doing fine. And
Yeah.
my other job after that was doing fine. So I was doing well in the other side, but it was just, yes, after hours, it was just everything. I couldn't absorb enough knowledge.
Wow. So we had this conversation like at the start of the video. Our paths met at Quaker Church, and I love the meetings. I'm very weary of like people's energies, and the group was just so welcoming, and it was just so beautiful, and it was just lovely. A cappuccino biscuit. We'd sit and do the quiet meditation, fill the room with love and light, so we were protected. And you would just brought that element of you brought this element. Because it was me and Alison, the ones always laughing, not laughing, but like two little school kids thinking we can't possibly do this. But you had this softness about you, but you also had this strictness about you, because you would like look, you would give that look in your eyes where you go, okay, I'm concentrating now. So I really
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you did, but you did. It's such a beautiful way, and I absolutely love and adore you. So yeah, my path, obviously I went down with with Ragdale, and obviously I did my card readings at Ragdale, and I do them via Zoom now and back in person again. But we had this conversation before we started video, where that urge to come back to the mediumship is calling me to come back. I need to follow that path. I need to bring it's like that missing part of who I am needs to come back. So what advice, like, because there might be people at home listening to this video, what's your advice for me to start?
I think so. Obviously, what we've been doing, dedication, but sitting in the power. So first of all, I know you used the word gift, so I'm not going to dispute that, but I think it's more of an ability. So say playing the piano. Some people can pick up the piano, play it really quickly, but others, you might take grade 1, 2, 3. You eventually get to grade 8. Eventually you could be a proficient piano player. So similar to mediumship, I think everybody who tries to come on this pathway can get there with practice. And practicing, the best way is to sit in the power.
Yeah.
And that's just a term for sitting in meditation. Sitting in meditation with white light around you, raising your vibration. So at that point, you're connected to spirit world. And at that point, when you connect to spirit world, your guides who know you very best, who know the very best, will try and steer you in some way to being more open to spirit world, or give you thoughts or inspiration, or help you to connect. So sitting in power is the first thing that I would recommend. And that on a regular basis, I think is more important than, say, perhaps doing an hour on a Sunday morning. If you can do 15 minutes during each day, then that's, I think, probably better than doing a long stint, really. So that's probably the first thing. And that is part, 3 years of quite a lot of training.
Yeah.
So it does take a bit of, it's an evolvement. And it's working to trust yourself, to trust spirit world. there's so much that happens in your course of your development that at all points at some points you might feel destabilized, you might think, what's going on here, what's happening. But if you're coming back to the point, I'm sorry about that, if you're coming back to the point of meditation, then meditation and linking with your guides really helps to kind of redirect you to where you need to be heading. So sometimes I think, when you're developing mediumship, you're not just developing a skill to connect to spirit world, you're developing yourself too. So for me, it was about confidence, and maybe it was about barriers. My mum and dad were probably pretty, I'm not saying they were anti it, but they certainly weren't very supportive of it. So the development of the skill and the development of the self coming into in my case, coming into my energy is just as important. So you might think, well, I'm not necessarily being spirit or shebang, but it might be that you're developing in a different kind of way to support the spirit, to support the connection to spirit world. So does that help to explain it? So meditation, sitting in the power.
Sitting in the power and doing it regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I've been going wrong. I sat there and I'm like, and then I'll go off on a tangent. So it's making that promise to spirit world, isn't it? It's making that dedication that I'm serious about this. And then if you're serious about something, then the right guides will come along and help you to develop. It doesn't mean to have to go off and do them in churches, does it?
Oh no, you could do it by yourself. So when I met the first bit of me, when I was 9 or 8 or 9 developing, that was me naturally sitting in the power. And I think the guides connecting with me. And I didn't ever go to a spiritual church till I was 23. So all that time, I'm quite a natural, I just want to go in a quiet space kind of person. Let me go meditate. And that's probably me naturally developing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to spiritual church.
Lovely. And I think, like with doing the card readings, when I first started doing them at Ragdale, it was interesting how I was doing them in a certain way, but because I was sat quietly, I will always hear this voice to my right. And it's not like a voice where I can hear your voice. It's a feeling of a voice telling me, no, you're wrong. That's not right. That's, concentrate. That's what I kept getting told, concentrate. And trusting. So I suppose, and then I was doing like loads of Ragdale, like in this, like maybe 3 or 4 a day, 4 days a week. So that was quite intense. So with the mediumship, it's like I'm listening and I hear you, like, right, I'm going to put aside 10 minutes each day to sit quietly, go into my little daydream, my bubble, and send it out and go forward.
Yeah. So if your intention's there with your meditation, so I intend to connect to spirit world, that's how that sets out the kind of like the question of spirit world or question of the universe, and they come back with the answer of connecting to spirit.
So how you work, do you see people in your mind's eye? Do you see
I think in a variety of ways. I think predominantly I'm a clairsentient, which is I sense spirit, so I'll sense a energy to my right or to my left. Their physicality I can sense into that, and sometimes then I can sometimes I hear, or sometimes I hear in my mind to claircognizance. So it comes in a variety of ways. I wouldn't say so clairvoyance is where sometimes you can visually see them or see them in your mind. That doesn't necessarily happen for me. And I think if it did, I would be super scared. If somebody physically walked into my room, I would be, oh my God, oh my God, where am I going? That kind of thing. I'd be panicking. But so they have to do it in a way that I can take it. So for me, it's very much, if somebody did come into my room, it's more like a shadow. So I understand that's spirit world. It's okay, we're comfortable. But they don't want to scare a medium or scare you a developing medium, because that would be counterproductive for those in spirit world. That's not what they would want to do, if that makes sense. So they work with me in a way I can understand it.
Brilliant. It's just, you've just jogged a memory you have. I think I must have been about maybe 3.5, 4, around that age. And I always could sense somebody coming into my room and sitting at the end of the bed. And I used to shout down for Nana, but obviously Nana couldn't come upstairs because her leg was not the best. So it was my Grampy. Always used to come upstairs, and I used to say, Grampy, there's somebody in the bedroom. There's somebody here. So I could physically sense them coming into the room. I could physically sense them sitting on the bed. I could feel them on the bed. And then he would go, no, there's nobody here. And I think as a child, that must have confused me, because I was like, but I can sense them. So I used to sleep with the covers over my head because I was frightened. And it wasn't until later on, like again, when I was at Ragdale, I had this vision, and I realized it was my mum coming into the room every night to sit on me. But because I could sense her, and my Grampy was telling me, and obviously you believe the grown-up, don't you?
You do, yes.
No, there's nobody there. I guess it made me shut down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't it?
Absolutely. And these are the things that when you're sitting in the power or sitting in the white light, that's what spirit world are working to kind of break down those barriers.
Oh, right. And then they can then help you
to open up further to trusting,
and work, like you said, they work in a way that makes you not frightened. And because it's important work, isn't it? Like some people would say, oh, you should leave. I mean, the veil between us is very, very thin anyway. And I don't think, like in the back in the olden days, that sounded really funny, doesn't it? Not everyone was aware of the spirit world, weren't they?
I think more so, yes.
More so than now. And some people have got these very strong opinions that maybe you should leave them. But spirit world are still very much here, still very much alive, but they're in a different dimension to us, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or different energy.
Vibration. Yes.
Vibration. Yeah. And they, from your experience, the question I'd like to ask is, do they like to be connected? Contacted, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
I think it comes back to the word intention again. So if I'm doing a reading for somebody, or if I'm doing a service for somebody, the intention is to always give a healing reading for somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And you can never force anybody to come back. So I've got one gran that has come back on hundreds of occasions, but I've got one granny I've seen her perhaps once or twice maybe. So you can't, there's no forcing, I guess, of any spirit to come forward, or they don't have to if they don't choose to. So if your intention is to give a healing reading, who comes forward will come forward with a healing message for the person that wants to receive a message. And very much that person is a message in its own right as well. So it's very much about the intention that we're using it. So there's very much a possibility though. So if you've got something that's so they still like, so how can I put it? So if you go around a haunted house and you're looking to see a ghost, and you're not asking it for being a healing message, you'll see what you want to see, if that makes sense. A ghost maybe, but there won't be a healing message coming from it. But if you're working towards I suppose a reading which would help somebody, you've always got that intention which will bring forward people to help.
Brilliant. That's really, really helped, that has. So yeah, when I'm doing my readings with the cards, like to me again, it's the cards are not, like some people think, and again, I don't like using that word psychic, you know, I just say I'm somebody who reads cards, but then maybe I should own it. The whole idea of card reading for me is to empower somebody.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like when you come, I never say to people, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, even though I love that sort of thing. Sometimes if it's not something you want to hear, it can cause more damage. And that's from experience as well. So my readings is always about like, what is it that you need to know to help you right here, right now? So with the cards, I can then start to put that energy field to incorporate loved ones in the spirit world. What messages do they need to hear?
Absolutely, yeah. So in a spiritualist church, the messages that you receive will be very different to card reading. So there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with card reading, oracle card reading, or tarot reading, because that's what I do essentially. That's the psychic skill. And sometimes there's cards in there that can be just a bit around the corner maybe, or show what potential pathway you're on.
Ditto.
Which is really good. Mediumship in a spiritualist church. is about kind of like is proof of evidence in particular. So in particular, if you're working in a I suppose the spiritualist church setting, it's all about the evidence. There's not so much that would come in. There would be nothing that would come in about the future or a future reference. It's just about that connection, the evidence, the communicate. You describe the communicator, the evidence, the reason for coming, and then you kind of tie it all up. But there's with a mediumship, there isn't the kind of like what tarot cards might say and the seership kind of side of things.
Oh, so with the medium readings, it's just to say, I'm here. This is like if I was saying, for example, you know, seeing an older woman, she's coming in. Well, it makes me think of my great granny Keen, actually. So it would be along the lines of like, she's here with me and she's letting you know that she's around you and watching you and helping you. And even though it's been like a little bit of a struggle and you felt like, and then I feel quite emotional now. I'm starting to talk. Is that kind of like you?
Absolutely,
yeah.
And,
but she's paving the way now. It's time for this next step of your journey. So that's how it would work.
Yeah, and you feel quite emotional because they usually they're connected. As they connect you, it is quite an emotional response that they have coming back. Yeah, and your connection with them as well. So it does bring up a lot of emotion and healing. They will bring it out, the healing or the thoughts that you need to heal. So it will really touch your soul.
Yeah, because I just saw images of like. And again, it's not images, but it was just a reminder. That was it. It was just thoughts like, yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle. It's been a bit hard. You kind of like have made these changes. But then I was being shown the path ahead. Yeah. It's been made clear. I just saw this path as if, and then feeling, because I don't hear, feeling, I'm helping you with this path.
Well done. Brilliant.
Wow. So that was, I feel like a glimpse of what it feels. Just struck me as quite like the emotion. I thought, oh, I'm gonna burst into tears now. Not like the sorrow. It was just strong.
No, often it is. Yeah, very emotional thing. Giving readings. It really, you're seeing people usually at their. I think people come to see a medium when they're at their most vulnerable time.
Yeah.
So your responsibility as a medium is profound. First of all, to prove that, to make that experience comfortable for them. Then obviously to prove that you're chatting to one of their relatives. So proof is very much part and parcel of the reading too. But the reassurance given should hopefully bring out the emotions that they need to move forward, or a message that would help them in some ways.
Lovely. So I'm aware of like our time, and I don't like to make videos my tummy's rumbling too long. So I recommend people to go to you, and you know that people have got a lot of comfort. So how do you do your readings by Zoom still?
Yeah, by Zoom, WhatsApp video call, you name it, whichever video function I've got.
Yeah.
And in person as well, I do. And also I'm still going to churches sometimes to do demonstrations or different places.
Lovely. So are you quite happy for me to put your details in the description?
Absolutely.
So anyone who's watching this can then contact you and book in with you, because this is your full-time vocation now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It has been for how many years?
15. A full-time vocation, 15 years.
Yeah. So yeah, I forgot we're being videos.
Yes.
I highly recommend Nicola. I really do. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully Nicola will come around, because there's so much more than just the mediumship that
gosh, yeah, it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
There's so much more to mediumship than just the connection. If you can work out how to connect from your spirit to, say, other spirits, there's so much more that can be explored.
Yes, because we were talking about, we are really, both of us are like a bit, I think you're a bit further ahead of me, like the plant spirits
Mm.
as well. Like I'm really into the flower essences. I just can't believe how powerful and amazing they are. But yeah, but there's things that nature spirits, but there's different avenues coming along on your path as well that you're going. So hopefully you've really enjoyed this video. As I said, I'm going to put the in the description Nicola's mobile number so you can contact her. So it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, technology is really good in the fact that we both can do readings via Zoom, WhatsApp, video calls. It is wonderful, and I highly recommend Nicola. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I've really, really enjoyed it, and I hope you, the listeners, enjoyed it too. So until next time, take care and lots of love. And this is where I put my glasses on to say, because I put them on properly, and to end video call.